First off, Alberto Del Rio being released from the WWE this past week in a very controversial fashion. It was announced, I believe, on Thursday that Del Rio had been released from his contract. The way it was all handled was very, very odd. They didn't use his real name in the release statement. They didn't wish him well on his future endeavors, as WWE is known to do when they ever release somebody, regardless of whether their contract is up or whether they just release him out of the blue. Usually they sent out that statement. They did not with Del Rio. And in addition to that, on Friday, they sent out tweets. I think it was either Friday or Saturday. They sent out tweets from the official WWE Twitter account saying that if there's anyone to blame, it is not us. It is not us, WWE. It is Alberto Del Rio. Every pro athlete should take consequences and responsibility for their actions. So what the rumor was going around at the time, and it's a good thing I'm taking a few days to talk about this as opposed to right afterwards, and I did. If you want my full in-depth thoughts on this, I also gave some brief insight on it on my Facebook page, I believe on Saturday, if you want to scroll down that far to go find it. But nevertheless, the report going around was that Del Rio had slapped a WWE.com worker, someone in charge of the social media for WWE, backstage a couple of days ago, I think early last week, which led to the release of Alberto Del Rio from the WWE. So the reasoning behind Del Rio's actions was that apparently this WWE.com social media worker, whose name is yet to be disclosed. There's a lot of rumors around regarding who it could be. There's only a few people in charge of that kind of thing in terms of social media backstage for WWE. There has been one name. His name escapes me. I think it was Cody something or something along those lines. Balberry, or I don't know exactly what it was, but I don't want to speculate either because it's not yet to be confirmed. But that being said, though, apparently one of the WWE.com workers had made a racist comment towards Del Rio and catering, saying that he should be the one to wash the dishes. Somehow it got back to Del Rio. He confronted the individual. The individual refused to apologize, leading to Del Rio slapping said individual, leading to Del Rio's release. So my immediate reaction was that, and a lot of people's immediate reactions was that, if Del Rio was going to be released from his contract due to slapping a WWE.com worker, and I know, getting in fights backstage with fellow wrestlers isn't as bad because it's a wrestler. A WWE.com worker or any other employee, down from an official to the janitor, they're not in-ring competitors, they're not athletes, so they should not be smacked, they should not be physically abused, and that's what Del Rio did. So in that respect, he deserved the release. But with that being said, though, there should not be any double standards. If this supposed worker for the WWE.com, social media, whatever, the Twitter accounts, whoever this may be, should also be punished for their actions, whether it be fired or fined or suspended, whatever it may be, he should also serve some sort of punishment. As of right now, from what I read a couple of days ago, the update on the situation is that said individual has not yet been released or fired from WWE, but they very well might be within the next coming days, weeks, whatever. We hope to have an update on the situation very, very soon. But in terms of Del Rio, it doesn't matter who it is. Regardless of what they say, you can't put your hands on a backstage personnel. And I'm thinking, I said this on my Twitter, I went on a Twitter rant about this, I believe over the weekend, but I said this during that, when I gave my 2 cents on Twitter, was that Del Rio, you just can't smack anyone. I don't care what they say, it doesn't matter if they made a racist remark or not. You can't put your hands on someone that is not an athlete. You can't do that. It will lead to your immediate release from the company. WWE is so sensitive regarding, in such a sensitive society nowadays, they can't let anything like this slip by into the news stream, into the mainstream, into the news. They just can't let something like that slip by. So I understand why Del Rio was released, but they also can't not take action on this other guy for his racist remark. Hopefully he does get fired or serve some sort of punishment for his actions. But in terms of Del Rio, and I said this during my Twitter rant, like I said before, but I think he just didn't give a shit. I just don't think he really gave a shit at all, and I can't blame him for his actions. If someone made a racist remark towards me, I would smack him too, especially if I was on my way out. I don't really want to see, though. I know some people were saying, oh, thank you, Del Rio. And I understand that some people are taking Del Rio's side in this. I understand that, but the whole thank you, Del Rio, as your fan from day one is absolute bullshit. Because some people have been complaining, and myself included, I'm not excluding myself from this at all, but people, members of the internet wrestling community, the IWC respectively, has been complaining about Del Rio for years. Del Rio has been mishandled by WWE for years, and I said this when Ricardo was released last week. You can check out the clip on YouTube or listen to last week's edition when I talked about Ricardo's release from the WWE, was that Del Rio was absolutely buried. And I'll go in a brief topic about this on a brief rant regarding how Del Rio was handled in WWE from his debut in the company. And it really wasn't his fault for the most part. I know people will say that he was boring and stuff like that, and I don't want to see those said people taking his side and saying, "Thank you, Del Rio, please come back. You didn't deserve to be fired." The guy was going to leave anyway. I don't really care what you say. Yes, he was maybe not in the wrong. Maybe he was in the wrong. It really depends on who you talk to. But he should not come back. He was better off gone anyway. He was on his way out, so I don't see any point in bringing him back. They weren't doing anything with him. So let's rewind, let's retread this for a second. Del Rio making his debut almost exactly 4 years ago in August of 2010 on the SmackDown brand, his first night in, taking out Rey Mysterio, making him tap out clean. So a big win for Alberto Del Rio after weeks and weeks and weeks of all those vignettes. And I figured from all the vignettes that he'd be like the next Eric Escobar, if you can even recall who that guy is. I saw him as the next Eric Escobar, and they would be promoting him, hyping him up, and he would be an absolute flop. And I didn't know his background or anything like that. But he debuted, defeated Mysterio clean. They obviously had big plans for the guy. There was a report only a few days removed from this, was that a WWE.com worker, ironically enough, also put out a description on the website saying that Del Rio was going to be pushed to the moon very quickly, so don't be surprised to see him get shoved down your throats within months, or don't be surprised to see him win any championships, or to win championships anytime soon, or something along those lines, that they pretty much spoiled and foreshadowed that Del Rio was going to be receiving a huge push going forward, and that he did. He had a very good feud with Rey Mysterio. He went on to win the largest Royal Rumble in WWE history in 2011. Was in a headlining match at WrestleMania. Granted, it opened the show, but it was a World Heavyweight Championship matchup. And that's when I wouldn't attribute that as the official downfall of Alberto Del Rio. On the road to WrestleMania 27, I think they made the mistake of having him lose way too often and then having him lose at WrestleMania. Because I figured with all the losses that he was taking going into WrestleMania to the likes of Edge and Christian respectively, and I thought the end plan was that he was going to win the World Championship from Edge at WrestleMania. Didn't happen. At Extreme Rules the following month, faced Christian for the World Heavyweight Championship. Did not happen. He didn't win the World Championship. I thought it was the best move to have Christian win, but they didn't give Del Rio the world title then either. So he went over to Raw, was sent there in the draft, the 2011 draft, I think the final ever draft that WWE has ever held, besides the point. But anyway, he went on to feud with John Cena for the WWE Championship. He won the Money in the Bank ladder match. All was right with Del Rio. He had won the WWE title at SummerSlam when he cashed in the contract. All was looking great for Del Rio. He looked to be on the fast track to superstardom in WWE. But within a fucking mere month, the guy had dropped the WWE title back to John Cena, a Night of Champions. He didn't get pinned. He fucking tapped out clean. And that drove me crazy. And to this day, 3 years later, I still attribute that as the official downfall of Del Rio. He just wasn't the same after that. Before that, for that solid year that he was in the WWE, he had such a great run. He was one of the rare heels in wrestling that can make someone tap out clean. He was one of those heels that could win his matches without cheating, even though he had Ricardo in his corner. That's what I loved about Del Rio so much, and they ruined that when they ruined his first run with the championship. He had a second run with the title, held it for only about a month before he dropped it to CM Punk at Survivor Series in MSG in November of that year. And he would get injured. He would have that long-ass, boring-ass feud with Sheamus over on SmackDown for the World Championship. I thought his feud with Randy Orton was good. They had a lot of great matches, but that's forgotten by a lot of people. The run as World Heavyweight Champion, the face turn at first was a welcome sight. It was something fresh for Del Rio to do after being wasted for months upon months upon months. And then they botched that too. He didn't get over as they thought he would. He dropped the world title, won it back at Payback. I thought splitting from Ricardo, as I said last week, would be the best thing for him, kind of giving something new. The whole car thing got old, and I was wrong. He got stale. He wasn't any different. He wasn't any more unique than he was before, and he flopped. Dropped the world title to John Cena in October at Hell in a Cell. Hasn't been the same since. He became the new pseudo-face of WWE superstars on the network, facing the likes of R-Truth and Justin Gabriel every week. So they didn't obviously have any plans for him. It wasn't like he was in the midst of a world title push or anything like that. Del Rio was on his way out anyway. This goes back many months ago when the report came out that Del Rio, when his contract expired later this year, that he was well on his way out of the WWE. So I don't want to see anyone say that, oh, they should bring him back. Yes, I understand that he might have been wronged in the situation. He did deserve to be fired. I don't care what anyone says. Regardless of what that guy said, you can't put your hands on a fellow employee if they are not a wrestler, if they are not a fellow athlete. You need to behave appropriately if you are a professional athlete. So with that being said, he needed to be fired. They could always bring him back, but I just don't see that being possible, seeing how, one, they wasted his character, they ruined him, they ruined any potential he had, and two, he had nothing left to do. They pushed him down our throats way too quickly. The same thing could be said for Sheamus. The guy, instead of going from a tag team or even from a mid-card position to the world championship status, he immediately was skyrocketed to the top, won the world championship, and then there was nothing left for him to do. He had basically done it all. A 4-time world champion, won the Royal Rumble, won the Money in the Bank briefcase, headlined multiple pay-per-views. There's nothing left for him to do, so I don't blame him whatsoever for what he did and for leaving. He's probably happier now than he was before this whole thing went down. And I had just recently read that he will be at AAA's pay-per-view or event this upcoming Sunday. I don't know if he's going to be appearing on the pay-per-view itself or he'll be backstage. I don't think he'll be wrestling. I believe he has the 90-day no-compete clause like every other ex-WWE employee has. But nevertheless, though, it looks like he's going to be making a good living for himself. He's made enough money over the course of his career that he could retire today and he'd be fine. So with that being said, I don't see him going to TNA. I believe TNA reached out to him for an offer. I wouldn't be completely shocked, but I just don't see that happening. Like I said, I think he's well off. If he retires, he's fine. He's made enough money. He's much more appreciated by the fans in Mexico. We American fans, we WWE fans have trashed him for years, and it's not all entirely his fault. Yes, his promos might have gotten boring and stale and just completely ruined. They might have completely ruined the guy, but the guy can still have great matches if motivated. He had lost his his physique for the most part. He was kind of pale. The fact that he was even in the Money in the Bank main event a couple of months ago was absolutely mind-boggling to me, given the next night he was on a Superstars taping with R-Truth. I was there. But nevertheless, though, I think all of this is for the better for Del Rio. I understand. I don't want to see people, yelling at me saying I'm taking the social media worker side on this. I'm not. I'm saying that if he should be punished much like Del Rio is. If Del Rio is going to get fired, so should that guy. It's only fair. It's only equal. That's what you got to do.